This is the Unstoppable Amazon Academy podcast,
where we bring you the business advice, skills, and e-commerce news you need to grow a profitable, sustainable business.
This is the Unstoppable Amazon Academy, where we help you build profitable and sustainable businesses in e-commerce. And today I have one of the makers of one of my favorite games, and that is the game of Tenzi. If you've not played Tenzi, you should go to Tenzi.com and buy it. And, just because manufacturers always get better margins on their websites. So anytime we can help manufacturers, we want to go to their manufacturer's website and buy it from there. But Tenzi is an amazing game, and I have Steve from Tenzi here to share a little bit about the manufacturer's perspective about Amazon sellers. What are some of their concerns, and what are some of the things that they wish that Amazon sellers knew? So Steve, thank you so much for making time to be on the show today.
Of course. Thanks, Robin. Appreciate it.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you started Tenzi and how you kind of brought it to market?
Sure. In a previous life, I was an advertising agency. I was a creative director, and an ex-colleague of mine who was an account person, we kind of ran into each other, and we hadn't seen each other in about 10 years. And he asked what we were up to, and I said, "Oh, not much. What are you up to?" He said, "I'm coming up with game ideas." And so I said, "Oh, well, I got some ideas. We should put our heads together." And so about a couple weeks later, he handed me a bag of dice and said, "Let's come up with a dice game." I'm a pretty simple guy, so kind of just kept adding dice until I had 10 dice, and said, I figured, how fast could I get all 10 dice on one number? And it kind of took off from there. We made some prototypes, and about 2 months later, we were knocking on doors, and kind of grew pretty quickly after that. Just a little test market to being in market with a few stores, and then now about 5,000 stores. 5,000
stores. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and when you grow rapidly, you come up against a lot of problems that you didn't know were problems or situations. And I guess the focus of today's talk about Amazon was one of those that we really knew nothing going into the business, and that was something that we kind of had to face right out of the gates, and not knowing much, map being one of them, map prices.
Well, I think that, because I remember when we met in Nashville at Astra, you were, even then, that was several years ago, before like enforcing MAP was cool, you were really focused on making sure that you had the right Amazon sellers, that you had people that were complying with your MAP agreements. So how did you get to that point, and, where did you find out about what you needed to do as a manufacturer to protect your product?
Most of it came from, first and foremost, we manufacture and we sell wholesale to retailers, especially retailer brick and mortar. We love our brick and mortar retailers. And so a lot of the information that we learned, we got directly from them. They were also selling, some of them were also selling on Amazon. So they became kind of our brains, and we learned a lot from them. One of the things, we never really knew what MAP pricing was. And so people told us, well, you have to, it's a point people shouldn't be able to advertise below, because that hurts brick and mortar when people are kind of looking at what prices they have in store versus online. So our retailers were the people we learned from, and they taught us pretty well.
Because, I think sometimes when people go to, Toy Fair or Astra, they'll be shocked at, like they'll say, oh, well, there were people who really hated Amazon sellers, and they take it personal. But I don't think that they always understand the impact, and the severe impact that Amazon has had on a lot of these specialty toy retailers.
Yeah, and it's getting more and more impactful as the years go on. The brick and mortar, small mom and pop stores are get pinched a bit more and more from Amazon as they continue to grow and be all pervasive in our lives. There are certainly a lot of good Amazon sellers, but we've also there are a ton of folks on Amazon who are literally just, getting anything and everything to sell, and don't care what kind of damage it does to other sellers, the brand. If they can make a buck or two off it, they'll do it without regard to what it affects and who it affects.
I totally agree with you. I think that there's some people that are just looking for, how can I cash grab? And they're forgetting this isn't just their income stream. It's your income stream. And you've really put, manufacturers put so much behind getting their products to market. There's so much blood, sweat, and tears. And then it's also these brick and mortar stores that you have become so close to and have been a big part of your success. And they don't understand how even just those two components can be so affected by what they're doing.
Absolutely. And those brick and mortars who are tremendous partners of ours, and we ask them to demo our product in their stores every day, and they do, and they're fantastic, and that's what they, that's their business, and they're fantastic at it. But then to have a mom or dad come in, get the demo, learn about the product, and then take out their iPhone and see that it's selling on Amazon for, $5, $3 less than it is in store, and they walk out without the product. That's why we try so hard to maintain MAP with our Amazon sellers, because it's not fair to the brick and mortars. We'd actually love to have a lot of people buy a lot more in brick and mortar, and there's some benefits to doing that. They can pick their own colors and support the local store that we always like.
I know this probably seems like a no-brainer, but just for people who aren't familiar with the role that these small specialty brick and mortars play for specialty products, can you say a little bit about why these stores are so important to bringing new products to the marketplace and having them become successful?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was saying, the role they play in the kind of being the middle person, the connective tissue between the manufacturers, all the games, kind of curating, because they're the ones going around to Toy Fair and all these shows and curating, finding the interesting toys, the next fad, the next big thing, bringing it into their stores, demoing it day after day to their customers. That's a pretty big job, big effort. And just to see those sales walk out of the store because they can find it for a few dollars less on Amazon because everyone's got Prime and they're delivered free. It takes a big bite out of that very important piece of the puzzle.
Well, and because they're willing to do the demonstrations, especially for games, those specialty retail stores are a big part of your marketing plan, right? Because they're the ones that say, hey, if you like this game, you might really love this game.
Absolutely. And they're such an integral part in what we focus on, the brick and mortar. We've recently really kind of revamped how and who do we sell on Amazon, because we want to protect the Tenzi brand and our other games for our brick and mortar retailers. Yes, we want to protect it on Amazon as well, but first and foremost, we wanted to protect the brand so that we have something to sell brick and mortar has a strong, viable brand to sell moving forward. Because it started denigrating on Amazon because of bulk dice and kind of rip-offs and things like that.
Yeah, people who take what you've done and try to make a less expensive or knockoff version, and not respect the work that you put into it. For those brands that don't take the time to protect the brand the way that you have, what have you seen happen to them?
A lot of them kind of get diluted online because, again, you're seeing one place on Amazon, it's selling for $15. Next thing on Amazon, it's selling for $8. In store, it's selling for $19. So really the customer has no idea what the value of it is. They certainly feel ripped off if they're going to the store. And you lose a little faith. I think customers lose a little faith in the quality of the brand or the game being sold if it's being sold at all these various prices. What's the real worth of that item?
And the other thing that I've seen is that brick and mortar stores, once the price starts to fall below the MAP pricing, a lot of brick and mortar stores don't reorder. And especially for stores that have had a lot of sales come from those specialty retail stores, it can have a significant impact on their cash flow.
Absolutely. We see a lot of, when we talk with the retailers and we see some of their comments online on different blogs and threads, some of them say, I saw a product on Amazon that's being sold on Amazon for less than what they buy it wholesale for from their manufacturer.
And they can't compete because they have costs that they have to hit, because they have lights to keep on and employees to pay. And, they can't just make it up on volume because they're limited to their geographical area. And so it's important that we set them up to success because they do demo a lot of these games. They do bring new market share in for you. And then, so what, you talked a little bit about good Amazon sellers versus bad Amazon sellers. What would you say like some of your biggest pet peeves are, or things that frustrate you the most that would make somebody a bad Amazon seller?
Well, the first rule of being a bad Amazon seller is not having the storefront name or company align with the name that they buy it under. So they buy it under Joe's Toy Store and they sell it on Amazon under Bargain Toys. And so you can't track down who's breaking MAP so we have a service, Ron Solomon's Map Trap is a great service. That kind of roots out who the sellers are in reality. And, a lot of people, they know they're doing shady things because they won't say who they really are online. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, the two is not abiding by MAP, dropping MAP, at certain wee hours of the morning, thinking that no one's going to see it, and then reestablishing it later on, a whole bunch of things.
And with the store name, if somebody does have legitimate, like maybe they, because the Amazon sellers were kind of private about our store name, as long as they tell you, like, by the way, my store name is different, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's always DBAs and all that stuff. I can understand. But there are people who will flat out say, no, we absolutely don't sell on Amazon. We have a small toy store in this town. And then you look it up and there's no toy store in that town, but you've already sent the product out. So we have been trusting people. And so we'll take people at their word for it until we get, fool me once, fool me twice kind of thing.
Yeah, and it sounds like when people do that, when they're not honest about who they are or where they've misled you, that it basically makes you feel like you cannot trust that seller going forward.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, we give people one chance, two chances, and even sometimes a third chance, but we've been consistently burned. And so it makes it harder to be that trusting moving forward. Like I said, we've recently revised, we used to let anyone and everyone kind of sell on Amazon. And it just started to dilute the brand, as I was saying, having too many sellers and not having enough control of it. So we reduced our FBA sellers to 4 or 5 per SKU. And that's greatly helped in managing the brand on Amazon.
Yeah, because, if your item's going to sell 50 a day or 500 a day on Amazon, but if it's going to sell that, whether you have, 10 sellers or 78 sellers. So dividing it just makes it so people have to liquidate inventory to make payments. And then that race to the bottom can all happen all at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is really important to control. And, that's one of the things when we work with brands now is in consulting is, one of the big things we say is you have to, as you become more successful, you have to really control the number of sellers. What would you say makes somebody a good seller? When you talk to a seller, what makes you say, this is somebody that I would really, I think I would like to give a chance?
As you said up front, hey, here's what we buy under. Here's our store name on Amazon. So again, everything's up front. Payment upfront, just so that there's no, if people do start breaking MAP, it's not
where you're not going to get paid.
Exactly. You can't kind of say, oh, well, we're going to cut you off because, all right, you can say that then, and they can either fix the MAP problem or continue. And if they continue, then you just don't sell to them anymore. But again, good Amazon sellers, people who are willing to invest in the brand. Again, part of reducing the number of Amazon sellers for us is now if there's more upside in it for them, they can reinvest in the brand for advertising, SEOs, and all that stuff.
One of the things I see happen over and over again in the boards for the sellers is they'll say, I talked to this brand and they didn't ask if I was an Amazon seller. Do you think I should tell them or should I just place the order? And if they didn't ask, it wasn't important to them.
No, I think a lot of times retailers certainly was when we first started out, don't know to ask. And that's how kind of you end up with kind of a plate full of spaghetti and lots of, you don't know which end is which. So we quickly learned, okay, are you an Amazon seller? Learn the right answers to ask. A lot of people just don't know the answers to ask or the questions to ask.
Because I think a lot of people in the Amazon space are very much similar to the manufacturers. Most of us didn't really plan on becoming entrepreneurs. We had something that took off better than we expected it, and things kind of went from there. So if somebody's new to specialty toys, they're not going to know that they need to ask because they're assuming everybody who is attending a specialty retail show is going to be a specialty retailer and not going to be online sellers. So they don't know these are the things that they need to be looking at.
Exactly. And there's quite actually a lot more of those folks who are, as you say, kind of accidentally in the business than purposefully in the business, and with a company that has structure and knows all the questions to ask and has things straight. Can't tell you how many other companies have come to us and call us and email us saying, since you guys know so much about the business, can you help us with XYZ? And Kevin and I certainly don't know all that much about a business. They're coming to us for that. So it's sometimes not the blind leading the blind, but again, there's a lot of new learning out there all the time.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of, one of the things that I try to tell Amazon sellers is we know Amazon in and out, but, especially if somebody wasn't familiar with retail and they kind of stumbled into this and things went well, they might not know the difference between selling to Amazon, Vendor Central versus selling to a third-party seller or selling directly. And so you can't just assume that they understand what you're talking about, or they might have had a bad experience with one platform or another and not realizing that they're, multiple separate different things.
Yeah, there are very much different things between just selling on Amazon, selling FBA, and then selling to Amazon. Very specifically, we do not sell to Amazon. I think once you do that, Amazon has a way, I would imagine, that they then get the buy box 99% of the time, and other FBAs probably do not, because it's in Amazon's interest then.
One of the things that comes up a lot and there's a training out there that actually they highlight Tenzi in one of the things as a good potential company to approach. One of the things that a lot of people are teaching is that you should go to a manufacturer and you should request to be, or even demand to be the exclusive seller of a product. Mm-hmm. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny. I guess that a lot of people are watching that training video or whatever through Amazon, because we get, 15 to 20 email requests a week asking to be e-commerce retailer for us and stuff like that. And we say, thank you. Thanks for your request, but we're not taking any more online accounts at this time. But they all say, and they all have a great pitch, and but this is why we should be the exclusive one. And I'm sure they're fantastic. Majority of them are fantastic. I'm sure they do a great job. But it's amazing how there's just an endless supply of folks, e-commerce people, because they never touch the product. They never touch, it's some person, maybe the nicest person in the world, but they're in Somewheresville, USA, and the product goes, they buy it, they never touch it, it goes to FBA, and all it is it trickles in, pennies or dimes for every product. It's amazing how small the margin can be for some folks, but they don't, a quarter, a dime, and they still are, it's worth it to them, so.
Yeah. And so I talked to another manufacturer and they said, anybody that asks us, for an exclusive just out of meeting us, we immediately disqualify them because we feel like they're just following some formula and not really caring about our brand.
Well, you can certainly tell when it's a form letter and they say, "Dear sir, we really like your product. We want to be the exclusive e-commerce retailer for your product."
So, you couldn't even put the brand name in there.
Exactly. At least try.
Yeah. Some of them will say, well, I'm offering, because, we try to teach people, find brands that you can partner with, you can actually contribute to. Brick and Mortar are providing something to the marketing plan because they're, showing people how to play. So you need to be doing something to help with the marketing as well. So fixing something that is broken or doing something else, but you have to come with actually caring and wanting to help that brand grow and a plan to actually do that. Do you have a lot of brands that ask, or a lot of Amazon sellers that do ask you if, they can do additional things, or do most of them just say I want to just sell for you?
Yeah, 99% of them say, I just want to sell for you. And they have, like I said, they have step-by-step strategy of how they're going to improve, and it all makes sense. But at this point, we're just not in the market for more retailers. In fact, we had to cut back from, like I was saying, 20 FBA people to 4 so we could have a handle on it. But those 4 people now are, looking at what added value we can, have to the brand, whether that's bundling certain packages, dice containers, things that kind of are in addition to the things they're selling.
And do you consider Amazon someplace that you want to help grow your business? Is that someplace where you're focused on growth, or is it just someplace you're focused on controlling, or both?
Yeah, I would say controlling first. Certainly, any growth is always appreciated, and we know that there more and more people are, going to continue to go to Amazon. But we just, as much as there are sales there for us, like I said, like I started, the brick and mortar folks are just such a fantastic network and have so much value on a day-to-day basis that's where 99% of our focus is every day.
And so really is the value that they bring is something so much more than the value that just the Amazon sellers who are just kind of fulfilling a need, that's where you're really focused.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, again, Amazon and our retailers are selling on Amazon are important, and that's kind of almost a convenience, and there are customers there that are going to Amazon. I think one way to say it is we couldn't be in business without our brick and mortar folks, yet we probably could be in business without our Amazon folks.
I think that's important for us to know as Amazon sellers, because I think sometimes we're like, oh, you don't understand how much power Amazon has, but we forget that there's so many other channels, whether it be through big box like Costco and things like that, but also especially through those brick and mortars. Just because they're ordering smaller quantities doesn't mean that they don't become a significant part of your revenue overall.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although, there are companies that exist just on Amazon and not on brick and mortar. So, it can work the other way. That's just not our formula.
So what would you say, is there anything that you wish that Amazon sellers knew about working with manufacturers? Or if you wish you could get them to see it from your perspective?
I guess that it's manufacturers want for a longer lifespan for their brands than perhaps just, can I get a sale? Can I get a sale? Can I get a sale? And move on. Because if the price keeps spiraling down on Amazon, the lowest price gets the sale, you're just not going to have a brand to sell after a while. So it would be a longer lifespan of the brands. That's what we're kind of looking towards.
Yeah, and so it is really about thinking about the long term of the brand. And actually, if you want to stand out to a brand, you need to show that you actually do care about their long-term strategy, not just putting cash in your pocket right now.
Yeah, that would be a fair representation there.
I want to thank you. I loved the Tenzi product. We loved carrying it. And, one of our, I don't have a lot of regrets, but one of the things that I do regret is that I think that once some of the margin eroded a little bit, we didn't know then what we know now. And we kind of just let that relationship kind of disappear into the night. And I've always had a lot of respect for what you guys have done as manufacturers. I love the smiles and the joyful memories that we've had playing your products. Even when we were just cleaning out the closet, we pulled out Tenzi and my daughter just started laughing and she's like, remember when, and so thank you for what you do, because I know that there's a lot of stress involved in it, but know that it does touch a lot of lives.
Oh, no worries, and not much stress at all. Please, before we get off, or follow up with your email, with your mailing address. And
yeah.
we have a couple new games that they're super fun, super fast, and I'd love to send it out to you guys and you can play with your daughter, all ages, a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved about Tenzi is that even before my daughter could play, some of the more complicated games, we could all play that together as a family. It was a game where she wasn't end up feeling left out. I would love, because I saw Slapsy when I looked at your website and I was like, Slapsy looks like so much fun. I need to get that.
Yeah, well, please don't go buy it. Shoot me your mailing address and we'll send you that and our new game, Itsy.
Okay, cool. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for making time for me. I think that this will help. I'm hoping to do a couple of these to kind of help sellers see the other side of it, because I think that they're just seeing it. It's just an ethnocentric thing. They're only seeing their perspective and they're not understanding that, it's time for us to start being part of a bigger ecosystem and not just focusing on the Amazon piece.
Perfect. Well, if there's anything we can do, let us know. And it was great talking to you, Robin.
It was great talking to you. Thank you again for your time.
Absolutely. Take care.
This has been another episode of the Unstoppable Amazon Academy, where we help you build a profitable and sustainable business in e-commerce.
Are you looking to grow your business?
Join our Unstoppable Amazon Academy with hundreds of video and step-by-step tutorials to walk you through the skills you need to take your business to the next level. Find out more at bestfromthenest.com/academy.
Use the promo code podcast to get a 14-day trial.